Are you somebody who fixes the problem right away? Are you somebody who adapts to the issue and just, lives with it? Or what kind of person are you?
Welcome back to another episode with Gus and Dave, where we're here to talk to you about all things home remodeling, all things real estate, and quite frankly, everything in between. So sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy this next episode.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Gus. So that's a really interesting question, man. I think that brings up a lot of really interesting points, right? And people are probably like, well, what are they even referring to, right? It's interesting that we've been talking about this a little bit, and for those watching, what we're referring to are like maintenance issues around your house, for example, right? Like sometimes you'll have, a dripping faucet or a running toilet, or, that piece of trim needs to be painted or whatever it is, right? There's various things that could come up. There's a set of people I feel like who have to take care of it right away. And then there's a set of people who you just kind of learn to live with it, right? And it's interesting how there's those two different, and there's people in between, of course, but it's interesting how there's those two kind of mindsets, right?
It's very, very interesting. It's the flight or fight. You know what I mean? You have a lot of people that are reactive, and you have people that are proactive. Oftentimes I go and see people that are not necessarily in the market or immediate market to get their roof replaced, or they don't know if it needs to be replaced. They're just, looking around, just trying to, find out what's going on or what's out there, what's available to them. And oftentimes they tell me, well, my roof isn't leaking, I don't need to replace it, right? So that's your reactive type of customer. And other times I have people that tell me, well, it's not leaking, but I don't want to wait until it leaks to take action. And that's the proactive type of customer.
So it's interesting, right? Because I think that to that end, maybe some of that has to do with, and maybe some people's mindset might have to do with expense, right? Or, for example, like I've recently had two roofs replaced, two different properties, but I've had two different roofs replaced. On both of those scenarios, so one was an investment property of mine, but let's talk about my primary residence for a second. What was my primary residence? I've since moved, but regardless, we didn't replace that roof because we needed to. I mean, we did. We replaced it because we needed to. But the reason we knew we needed to is it started raining inside of my daughter's bedroom, right? So something like that, right? You talk about roofs. I mean, nobody really goes into their attic, right? And if they are, they're going into there for reasons they shouldn't be, whether it be storing things. That's a different topic for another day.
Right. To that point, people that actually do go in their attics is because they use it for storage, and they typically go up, during the holiday season just to bring down the Christmas tree decoration or whatever.
That's right.
And that's it. Other than that, like, people have no businesses in getting their attics, and you're absolutely right. And like, how else are they going to inspect their roof, or how else would they know? Because I mean, realistically, it takes a long time for a homeowner to notice visually that their roof is leaking, because it has to go through so many layers, through the first, sheet of plywood, down through the attic insulation, and then through the drywall and the ceiling, and so on and so forth. So by that time, there's already so much damage that it's gonna unfortunately end up
raining in my daughter's bedroom.
Right. And so I have few things that I wrote down here that I'd like to share with our viewers. And you tell me your thoughts on this. And I think you brought up a great point. One is the cost associated with a project, whether big or small. Unfortunately, not many people have thousands of dollars sitting in the bank,
for sure,
waiting for something to happen, so they can take action on it. So that's one thing. Another thing is, they have too many things going on. Either too many things in their lives, because I mean, realistically, we get busy, right? We have kids, we have jobs, we have so many things going on. Obviously, with the pandemic, it changed things a little bit, but outside of the pandemic, we live pretty busy lives, right?
Yeah,
And so people either have too much going on outside of their home, but meaning, life related, or home projects related. Too many projects going on. They don't know where to start. They don't know, what first step to take and stuff like that. And just, those projects keep on piling up. And
so that's like an overwhelming kind of mindset,
exactly.
Right? People they're just, get kind of caught up and oh my gosh, there's so much, I don't know what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think another reason is they get burnt. They hire a contractor, they do a shoddy job, and they just lose trust in all contractors. And unfortunately, it happens. And just that one bad experience, but it's such a sour taste in their mouths, and they just decide not to do anything anymore.
What about the thought of it's not really impacting my life, right? This repair, it could be done, or this thing needs to be taken care of.
Yep.
But I've learned to live with it, right? It's not really affecting me. It's not really negatively affecting me. So I just kind of move on, right? I move on with my life and just kind of go through the day to day,
I'm guilty of it myself. You mentioned, and I'm in the industry.
Right.
So you earlier you mentioned that leaky toilet where you just juggle the thing and the water stops at some point. I lived with that for a good amount of time because it just I got used to it. It just became a part of my life. And like I said, it goes back to being busy and having to hire a plumber and go through find the right plumber. And so on.
I think to some extent it becomes like a progression also, right? I was just talking about my other house where I replaced the roof. It's one of those things where, you see something and you don't necessarily deal with it right away. And it's not a big deal. For example, I had some wood trim that needed to be taken care of and I saw it and
right.
I didn't really do anything with it. And then before I knew it, I'm getting ready to move. I'm getting ready to fix that house up so I can turn it into an investment property. And before I know it, I've got thousands of dollars of wood trim that needs to be taken care of.
It becomes a domino effect.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I think another thing too is fear, which kind of goes back to being burnt, but not to that extent. There's a say, fear of loss is always greater than the desire for gain. I don't know if you ever heard that one.
Yep.
I think, I forget who said it, but it's very, very true in this instance. People don't want to lose their money, or their fear to lose their money is greater than their desire to get their home fixed.
So that I think what you're referring to is, and maybe not exactly, but like Tony Robbins said, people do two things. They do things, for one of two reasons: either to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. Exactly. Right. That's why people do things, and this is no different. To your point, people are looking at how much money they're going to have to spend or how it impacts their quality of life, and you make a decision as to whether or not you're gonna do it or not.
Absolutely. So, we touched on cost, we touched on the fear. Moving is another one. People think that, and I'm sure you can speak better to this than I can. They think, well, I'm going to be moving in a couple of years, so therefore I'm not going to do it. And they just put it on the back burner. And next thing you know, 10 years later, they're still in that home, and they're still living with that same problem.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this?
And then when you go to move, you're going to wind up doing it anyway, right? So it's like a mental game. People kind of play with themselves, right? I mean, I'm in the real estate industry, and I do it to myself. I do it also.
Sure.
You just kind of wait. You just kind of put it off. I mean, there are people, they have these, houses that have better homes and gardens, and these are the types of people that are clearly keeping up with this stuff on a regular basis. Those are the outliers, if you will. I think the more average person is somebody that, they try to maintain their home, but there are things that kind of get away from them, and then you don't realize it until it becomes a bigger issue. So I don't even know that it's necessarily a matter of blatant neglect. I think it's just like kind of almost like this out of sight, out of mind, even if it's something that's staring you in the face, right? an out of sight, out of mind. I'm just going to live with it until it becomes too much. And then it's almost like you have to do it, or something even worse is going to happen.
Right. Absolutely. So I think this sums up this episode, or almost sums up this episode. All right. So if you guys have any questions, or if you have anything that you'd like to share with us in terms of any projects that are sitting on the back burner, would love to answer any questions for you. If you need any advice on when to do things and how to do things, what what steps to take, feel free to reach out to either David or myself, and we'd love to help you out. All right. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you have any comments, any questions, leave them down below. If you have any suggestions for future topics, we'd love to hear from you as well. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next episode.